Hey, what's up? This is Austin Womack from KC Speed and Sport. I'm here with my intern Ryan Ellis, and today we're going to be going over one of my favorite upper body mobility drills, back to wall shoulder flexion. I love this drill because it's a great tool to get more mobility in our shoulders, but it's also a great assessment tool to determine whether or not our athletes can overhead press safely. So we'll get right into it. Setup is very easy. Just instruct your athletes to place their feet about 8 to 10 inches away from the wall. I tell them about a foot lengths away from the wall. We want to keep a neutral spine here, so we'll start at the top with our head, making sure our head is flat against the wall, upper back flat against the wall, and then most importantly, we want that lower back against the wall. So what I do is I tell my athletes to actively press their lower back into the wall throughout the duration of this drill. So if I try to slide my hand through here, I shouldn't be able to go anywhere. There should be no daylight between the lower back and the wall here. So to do the actual drill, just instruct your athletes to go elbows extended throughout the whole time. And we're just going to slowly raise up overhead. And the goal here is to touch our thumbs to the wall and try to get full shoulder flexion. So you just come up and then we'll slowly come down at the same tempo here. I like to do about 6 to 8 reps, depending on kind of how much they need the range of motion to be built. Your cueing might have to be a little different depending on the athlete. For an example, if they have underdeveloped upper traps, or if they have a serious downward slope at their shoulder, which for Ryan, that's not really the case, but you might find some athletes have a serious downward slope and they struggle to get overhead. What we'll do is cue them to go into a little bit of a shrug as they come up. So as they come up, they're shrugging simultaneously. That's going to help develop this a little bit up here and kind of elevate that scapula, which might help them get a little more shoulder flexion, increase that range of motion. So you might have to play around with that depending on your athlete. Like I was saying before, it's extremely, extremely important that we keep that lower back actively pressed into the wall. Why do we say that? Well, for people that lack the mobility here and the range of motion in their shoulders, oftentimes what you'll see is they compensate that lack of range of motion here with range of motion down here. You see it when guys are doing any sort of overhead pressing exercises or like overhead tricep extensions, anything like that, where they don't have the range of motion here, so they excessively arch their lower back and they get that range of motion here, they compensate. We don't want that, first of all, from a safety standpoint, but then also for a mobility standpoint. We're trying to build mobility here with this drill, so we don't want it to come from here. So this is a great assessment tool. If your athletes cannot go thumbs to wall up here, keeping elbows extended, then they have no business whatsoever doing any sort of overhead pressing movements. We want to master this mobility drill in full shoulder flexion, in this plane, in this range of motion before we do any overhead pressing where we got a lot of resistance up here, because that increases that risk of injury, and that's the last thing we want. So this is a great mobility drill. We like to use this in our warm-ups with a lot of our athletes. And then if our athletes really struggle with this and they really lack that mobility, what I'll do is I'll throw it in as a filler exercise, usually superset it with some sort of pressing movement, just to get them more reps, and try to build that range of motion so we can start working overhead, but in a safe way. So back to wall shoulder flexion, great mobility drill, great assessment tool. Go ahead, give it a try.